Hi, folks. And a few years ago, we had somebody who signed up for some half marathon training with the running club that I was involved with in the training program. He was signing up for half marathon training, but he had not indicated when he signed up which half marathon he was doing. So, of course, I reached out to say, well, what half marathon are you going to be running? Because we need to know that in order to say when should the training start, when does it end with the race, etc. And he was going to be doing if I can get my papers out, the Naperville Half Marathon, which at the time was in early November. They've changed the race now, as the local people will know, but he was doing a half marathon in early November. Easy enough. But I also found out through talking to him that in January, just 2 months later, was his real goal race, and that was a marathon at Disney at the very beginning of January. And it's a really good thing he told me that, because he didn't need a half marathon plan. He needed a marathon plan that had a half marathon in it, because we could have gotten him prepared for that half marathon, but he would have been woefully unprepared probably for his marathon. So today we will talk about a yearly racing plan, and if you don't have one, it's something that you might want to consider. So what do you do with a yearly racing plan? Well, two things. You're looking for races that you believe you'll be doing, and you would identify them as A, B, and C races, or anything else that's significant that's happening in that year that's going to have an impact on your training. So, what's an A race? An A race is one where you are going to train hard, you're going to race harder. Everything is geared toward that particular event. So, the example I used, that Disney race would have been an A race for him. So, A races are the big ones. You're usually not going to have more than a handful of A races in the course of a year. Then we've got a B race. B race just means there's no specific training for that. The training is geared towards the A race. We probably do some type of a taper getting ready for that race, and you might race it hard, you might not race it hard. So in this person's example, that half marathon would have fit in like that. The training would have been more geared towards the marathon because that was the big rock, if you will. That was his A race, but there would be some minor preparation in regards for his half marathon. Then finally, you have the C races. C races, they might be fun runs. There's generally no specific training getting ready for that race. There's generally no taper for that race. You might still race it, depending upon the distance. It might be something you go after hard, but there's nothing that's done to prepare for it. It's kind of a C race, one that you're doing. Now, I also mentioned that you should come up with significant events. So significant events are anything that you know about that are going to have an impact on your training. So some examples might be you're going on a 3-week cruise and you're not going to be able to run it all. That would be good to know because that can be woven into the yearly plan. Maybe you're getting a frontal lobotomy and your doctor said no running for 6 weeks or whatever. But if you know any significant events that will impact training, those can be part of your plan as well. Of course, then the question is, well, why do you want to do that? Well, it's for what's called, if I can say this word, periodization. I always kind of stumble over that word. We do some periodization within the plan for a given race, but you really want to look at it for a year. What they really are they're phases of training. They're different things that you work on. Throughout the course of the year, we always like to have this chill period in the course of a year where you're going to have 4 to 6 weeks where you're primarily doing easy running, letting the body recover from a hard year of running. There's always a base phase somewhere in your training. It's nice to have some speed work in there. Of course, you have race-specific work. There's all kinds of different things with training. And when you have a yearly plan that talks about what races you're doing and when, other significant events, it's a little bit easier to try and plan out when all those phases are going to occur so that you can do the best job possible in your races. Of course, then people say, well, but what if my plans change? Well, it's etched in sand, it's not etched in concrete. I don't think I've ever seen anybody, including myself, that has a yearly training plan that executes exactly what it was. But it's a lot easier to have a plan and make an adjustment than have no plan at all.